Welcome to StaffBuffalo's Pain Points podcast, where we unravel the complexities of staffing, human resources, and other challenges faced by businesses today.
Good morning and welcome back to StaffBuffalo's Pain Points podcast. I'm Carolyn Case and I'm here with Lauren Lewis.
Hi, welcome. We are part of StaffBuffalo, and what's really great about what we do at StaffBuffalo and why we're doing this Pain Points podcast is because we get the opportunity to learn about the different companies and industries in and around Western New York and talk with them about what are some of their pain points in their industry, in their business, in building a business. Today's topic we will talk about is pain points with startups. And we're lucky in Western New York. We have a vibrant startup community with Launch New York, the incubator at UB. There's just so many opportunities for businesses and founders who really want to start their own business to have support and find support in building their business. With that being said, there's a lot of pain points that founders and business owners face as they're learning about their business, their industry, growing their business, and navigating every little thing that goes along with that as well, including recruiting, talent acquisition, human resources, which is our expertise, but also there's a lot of things that they have to navigate too as they're navigating the competition in the market and building it, and kind of battling sometimes with the companies that aren't in the startup phase. They've been established and around for a long time. So Carolyn, I know you've had good experiences so far working with some of our clients who are startups. What have you seen have been their biggest pain points?
I think a lot of startups sometimes struggle with figuring out the kind of people that they need, not just on paper, but the kind of people that want to work at a startup, where sometimes their job descriptions are not super nailed down and very detailed because the company itself doesn't know what they need. They need people that can wear multiple hats.
Yeah, absolutely.
So finding the right kind of people that are flexible and willing to jump into new territory all the time. Sometimes companies struggle with that.
No, absolutely. It's definitely a certain personality type and profile of a person that will work well and be successful at a startup. And like you said, it's being able to wear multiple hats. These startups are navigating different things every single day, different challenges, and a lot of times they're very lean because they might not have the financial backing yet to help support a full team, a marketing person, a human resources person, a compliance person, accountant on staff. There's so many things. So how do they build their business around the people that they have and grow their business and optimize it in the right way? So a lot of times we talk with startups about finding people that have that personality fit for the organization and can really ebb and flow with the business and the business needs. They can maybe have that little bit of skill in payroll or accounting, and they can help with that. They have maybe some skills with tech and development, and they can help with that. So being able to kind of switch on and off depending on like what the needs of the business are will really help them do well. I also like to say they need to have a figured out mentality. A lot of times they need to work hand in hand with the founder and some of the key employees to help figure things out as they go, figure out what they need next, figure out what resources are out there for them, figure out what technologies or softwares that they have that can really help them use those tools to build the business and grow the business and keep moving forward so they can really get the business to the next level and also get more funding too.
I've found that sometimes the best people for that are either people that are also coming from small businesses before, where they're used to that kind of rhythm of work, of needing to jump into different areas, or they're people coming from larger businesses that were very structured, but they say, I want to have more mobility.
Yeah.
I want to learn what my coworker is doing and what all these other folks are doing, and I can't do that if I'm stuck in just one position all the time.
Yeah.
So those are great pools of people to pull from that have that mentality and the personality for it.
Absolutely. I always say there's people out there that really thrive in a small business. They understand the opportunity there. There's really great growth opportunities. There's lots of room for collaboration with your other team members and the owners of the business. You can learn new things as you go all the time in a small business and try new projects that maybe aren't in your wheelhouse. Where sometimes if you're at a more established corporation or a big business, those lines are really defined. If you are an accountant, you move up to an accountant 2, to accountant 3, and you just are constantly moving up that kind of career trajectory where you might not have as much opportunity to pivot within your career and pivot with the business and learn different things and gain more skills to really help the business move forward. It's definitely a certain mindset. There are plenty of people that love, working at M&T Bank or any large corporation like that, where they can see their exact career trajectory and career ladder. They thrive on that. They do really well. And there's some people that want more beyond that, and it can mesh with that kind of ebb and flow lifestyle of a business.
Right. How do you think are good ways of finding those right people? Whether it's looking at their resumes when they're applying, how do you identify fairly quickly and efficiently who are going to be the right people for that?
But it's tough, Carolyn. I think sometimes you have to just get into a good conversation with those people and really understand what their pain points are in their current job and what they're looking for in the next career move. If they're struggling at an organization where maybe it's too fluid for them, they need more structure, well, that person's not going to thrive in a startup. You might find someone who maybe they've hit a wall at their corporate job and they're like, I want more out of my life. I want to learn some new skills. I want to pull on my transferable skills to help in another organization or another industry. They might have more of the awareness and knack to pivot. But it's getting those conversations and understanding what their career history's been like, what their struggles have been, and what their goals are out of the next opportunity. I think something that's really important is if you go work at a startup, there might not be a lot of formal policies and procedures that are like clearly etched out. We're still working on building those things up, right? If you're used to that type of structure where you go to a new job and you want everything very lined out from an onboarding perspective and you can't kind of flow with the fast pace of a startup, you're probably not going to be successful. Find the people that understand, like, hey, it's not going to be, it might not be perfect, but we're working towards perfect.
Right.
And we're working to get these things in place. And if you can bring the skills that can help us do that, even better. So it definitely is a fun community. What do you think about startups and the ones you've worked with?
I always ask about why they're leaving their job. And usually the right people, they always repeat, I've taken all these certifications, I've done all these courses, I've tried to shadow my colleagues, and no mobility is happening. I'm not learning anything else. When you belong to a larger organization, there's definitely gridlock. Everything is in a grid. And that can become stifling for some people, and it's empowering for other people.
Right. It definitely is a personality fit for startups versus corporations, and really trying to find your way in your career. A lot of us want to find a career where you can feel valued and thrive and constantly learn and constantly grow. And finding that right track for you is really helpful. Now, if I'm a startup founder and I'm looking to grow my business, I'm faced with a lot of different pain points.
Yes.
I'm faced with funding. I'm always trying to find out where my funding is coming from. I'm thinking, can you build my business and grow it? I'm looking at the industry and what the market's like and where I can position my business, how I get customers and clients. But then, oh wait, I need to hire a team too.
Yes.
And what do? I don't have an HR person. I don't have a hiring manager. I don't have the bandwidth for it. I'm focusing on getting funding and getting clients. What can I do to help grow my business?
Well, that's scary too, because you're in competition with other companies as well, not just what you're selling, but also trying to get candidates who sometimes they've been burned at startups. I've interviewed people where they've tried to be in multiple startups and they've shut down and they've closed, and candidates want job security. So that can be scary, but frequently it means you're turning to other agencies to help you. We've seen companies who have gone to temp agencies because that is one of the quick and easy go-tos, or you can go to traditional kind of staffing and recruiting to try to get people with that specific experience to help you until you are big enough where you might want to take it on yourself.
Absolutely. It's important for startup founders out there. There's resources you can lean on externally to help you build your business. I know, for example, the 43 North community, they're always looking to help connect their founders that come in their cohort each year, the winners of 43 North, to help them survive and thrive and grow their business in the Western New York community. That's super important. At StaffBuffalo, we do that too. I always tell people, surround yourself with experts. Surround yourself with a good attorney, a good accountant, good HR professionals, good hiring team. And that's why at StaffBuffalo too, we've been able to grow our business. But also, by working with companies, we've learned a lot about what they've needed along the way as they're continuing to grow and evolve. And their businesses are, again, ebbing and flowing. I think I said that so many times already on this podcast today, but it's true. Businesses aren't necessarily a straight line. They go up, they go down. The business needs are constantly changing. So how do we maneuver through that? Finding consultants that can help you in a fractional capacity through different things as you're starting the business and growing the business can be helpful and empowering for you, but then also making sure that your employees aren't feeling overworked because you're too lean. Not everything's falling on those shoulders. And that's something to be very conscious of too, is making sure that you're not throwing too much at your people and burning them out. either. And then they're going to leave the startup because they're not happy. They're not thriving. They're just feeling overworked and overburdened.
You mentioned surround yourself with experts outside of just consultants. Also, Buffalo has a great networking community. There are so many groups of people, whether they're business owners, whether they're in different types of insurance, which every company needs.
Yes.
People in all these different fields that can offer their experience, and they're frequently going to weekend networking events after work. They're grabbing coffee or they're grabbing drinks, and that's a great time where usually it doesn't cost much or anything to go just chat with people and put a bug in someone's ear. Hey, I got this question. If you find someone that can help me out. And people do. I mean, city of good neighbors. People are always looking to help each other out, whether personally or professionally.
Absolutely. That's why I love doing business in Buffalo, because there's such a great network of people that are here to help support you, and just you can lean on whatever you might need. I always tell companies that we work with that we ourselves have a network of consultants that we lean on, whether it's insurance brokers, like you said, or benefit brokers, healthcare brokers, payroll companies, HR professionals. We have HR Buffalo here, but there's some HR professionals that do different work than what we do. So it's always about trying to find people that are going to help fit the company's needs, because everyone's needs are completely different. And so just because like one benefit broker might be great for you, they might be a good fit for my company. It totally depends. Having that network of people you can call and rely on is really helpful. Just last week, a company we're working with, they're pretty much in startup phases. They need to get payroll up and running. I reached out to a couple of the payroll companies that I know and I like locally, that I know could be helpful for them and support them. Did a couple of quotes and we sent them over, and they're taking it from there. It's not on me, but I like making those introductions a lot of times to those organizations to help. We can be such a resource to so many companies too, just based on everyone we know in the community from all the networking we've done over the years too.
We talked earlier about your staff need to feel satisfied and that they're growing if they need to, which those are the personalities you get in startups. And don't forget that there's networking just for general employees.
Oh yeah.
Too, where they are learning all the other different industries and they're making connections that will help solve their curiosity and let them grow. I know at StaffBuffalo we do that all the time. Like, I think just about every single employee has gone to some sort of networking event and is getting to know people. And that's a great way to make sure that your employees feel comfortable where they are, that they are learning as they're staying in a good environment.
Networking is so important. I love networking. It's so much fun. It can be sometimes overwhelming because you're like, oh, I don't know, no one at this networking event who am I going to talk to? Is it feel forced? And it's like, just treat it as if it's a normal event you're going into, and other people there are probably feeling the same way, and there'll be plenty of people to talk to. Sometimes half the battle is just getting out of your car and walking into it.
Yes, you got me into networking. That's what you did. I never went to networking events before starting to work here, and I remember going to events with you and just being amazed. She's so comfortable going up and introducing herself. Okay, that's my next challenge.
I can do it. Believe me, some days I don't feel like it. I'm like, okay, put that hat on, Lauren. Let's be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yes, that is a great phrase.
It is very important because that's how we learn. That's how we grow. I think the quote is, and it's not going to be direct word for word quote, but like where you grow is when you step outside your comfort zone. Be comfortable, be uncomfortable. I always remind myself that when I'm going to some of these events, when I'm not feeling like it, go be uncomfortable. Step out and you're going to like feel that much better once you get through it, and then kind of proud of yourself when you leave those events then too.
Yes.
Even just a couple good connections.
Absolutely. That's probably a good rule of thumb just for the startup energy itself, because it is such a risk. Whether you're starting it yourself or you're hiring people who are taking a risk joining, if you're really early on, you're going to be a little uncomfortable in the best way possible.
Yeah, totally. I've been very fortunate. The past few years I've been invited to 43 North's welcome dinner, their welcome receptions, the first night of 43 North Startup Week. And it has all the finalists, usually 10 or 12 companies that come in town that week to compete for the grand prize at 43 North. And the first night is a welcome dinner, and they bring in a lot of like Buffalo boosters and supporters and business people in the area. And I love it because I get to get that first connection to some of these people who are new to Buffalo. A lot of these people that come into the 43 North Week are not from Buffalo. This year there were people from Miami, New York City, Boston, Winnipeg, all over North America, and it was so fun. But you walk in this room, and because a lot of people I know from the Buffalo business community, and then you see other people you know they don't know each other, like know anyone there. So I'm like, okay, let's go talk to those people because they're probably new. We want to make them feel welcome in Buffalo. That's what we do such a great job at. But it's really fun because then once you see them starting to compete, they win too, and then they come to Buffalo. It's like they already have this established connection, and I always feel lucky that I have a connection to them already too, and can help them if they need
Absolutely.
to. It's fun. Even providing a good restaurant recommendation.
Yes, which everyone needs, or which roads to avoid during rush hour.
Yeah. Don't go here, don't go there.
So pivoting a little bit, we've talked about whether it's meeting people through networking or they're applying and how do you find the right people. Let's talk a little bit about onboarding. Because we had mentioned sometimes if you're a startup, you don't have super concrete policies and procedures yet. You're really hoping people will hit the ground running. Once you have a bit more of the bandwidth to sit down, you're either writing these policies yourself or you're going to a contractor. Let's talk a little bit about the importance of onboarding. How do you train your staff when they come in? How are you checking in with them occasionally? You've worked with startups before. How soon before they start getting a good onboarding process? How long does that typically take?
It can vary from company to company,
Okay.
honestly, because sometimes a company might have only a couple employees for the first 5 years. You don't necessarily need a good onboarding program. But the thing is, every time you are hiring someone new, you should probably think about what was that onboarding experience like? What did I scramble to have to find to get them set up? Was it their I-9 form? Is it getting an employee handbook up to date? Keeping track of those things to make sure that those things are in line and in order. So you kind of get your processes down for their first day, getting them set up for payroll. So you got to make sure you have a payroll vendor. And then what is that process like for getting them entered into the payroll system? Then what does training look like? How do you start with training with them? Making sure they're set up for meetings with people with the company to understand what their role is, how they'll be working together, and then working through different projects of what they might be working on. Onboarding. It's great to have a formal process for that, but it's also an evolving thing as well. It's going to continue to evolve as your business is continuing to grow and you're hiring more people, and you're learning from each new employee too, how you can make the process that much better for employees.
Making it standard, but also being able to change where you need to and also make it individualized for each person because they're coming from different backgrounds. They're going to learn differently. They're bringing different experience in. So how do you pay attention to who you are onboarding?
Exactly. Sometimes too, in a business, you might know what you're changing on a regular basis, like different technologies, different like links that maybe you had at one point in a employee handbook for click here for your benefits or for your timesheet, like whatever it might be. And then, oh wait, you moved that link and you forgot to change it in your documents. It's like, okay, now go back and rework that and update the link. So it's always this constant evolving process, but it's always about improving it and making it better. Leaning on your people will really help you understand what's working, what's not, and how you can make sure the employees have a good onboarding experience.
So checking in with your employees, especially that first week, that second week of what has made sense to you. When have you felt kind of lost and confused in this process to make sure that we can iron that out? Also that employee can see, oh, they take feedback seriously.
Yeah.
When I tell them I'm lost, they will work with me.
Right.
And that's so good for having a healthy, happy employee where they will hopefully stay and you can have retention.
And I think that's a good point is you're building that trust with your employee too. You're building that rapport with your employees. They feel comfortable going to you with any questions or problems or issues, and you can trust that they're going to help you continue to improve as an organization, as an employer as well. I think that's what we're always looking for. Like, we're all not perfect. A lot of us are just figuring this out every single day. Even some of the most established companies, they're still figuring out their business and their company procedures and policies every single day because things change pretty quickly in this world we live in. How do we continue to keep up with it but also improve overall? And taking that feedback, like you said, is super important because it only helps you improve.
And occasionally check in. I had a company just a couple months ago write to me and said, we thought we were going smoothly, but then we realized that each department had a very different onboarding process. Everyone's doing it differently. And they each all had strengths and then they have weaknesses, but we didn't realize up at the top that our different managers had a completely different process.
Yeah.
We should probably combine and figure out what's going on here.
Totally. Carolyn, who handles onboarding?
Apparently different companies do it different ways, but usually it's under HR, and so you can have your either HR contracting, which StaffBuffalo has done for several companies, where they do the onboarding. They will sometimes go to the company site that we're working with and help with that process. Sometimes they do it themselves. Sometimes they will do it themselves and then have a contractor just do the paperwork, whether it's background checks or everything like that. So it can be done in multiple different ways. Just legally, certain things have to be done.
Exactly. That's a good point. Sometimes people might not even know what onboarding is. So we've already talked about it a lot just now, but what is onboarding? Onboarding is making sure your employees have a good experience getting started with your organization. That's from a legal and compliance standpoint, HR, payroll, and training as well. Because you want to make sure your employees are getting set up for success and they have a good experience, not only with your organization and being a happy team member and contributing team member, but then also helping support your clients and your customer needs as well. And that's only going to continue that communication. It's going to show through your employees and your team members about the experience they're having. It's important that you take the time to invest in some onboarding help or procedures to make sure it's a smooth process for your new employees. And Carolyn mentioned StaffBuffalo, which is our sister company and does HR consulting, but they do onboarding work for a lot of our clients, especially the new ones who don't know where to start. And we talk about startups too. You might not have the capacity to do the onboarding on your own. You might not even know where to start. So relying on an external consultant can be extremely helpful and be budget conscious for you too, to make sure you are not being strained financially, but also making sure you're setting up the business and building the business successfully so that your employees and your team members are successful as well. And then again, that translates down to your customers and the product that you are delivering to them.
Yes, this helps with retention so that you're not losing and then having to start the hiring process all over again, but also making sure that, as you said, all your customers are being taken care of at that same time. You're not having a lapse in time where your one staff person that had already started is too busy training the new staff person, so now no business is getting done.
Yeah. And then when no business gets done, that's a bad thing too. There's no revenue coming in, and what's going to happen to your business? So make sure you have a good accountant too.
Yes.
And Carolyn, as a startup owner, and I'm hiring people, my hiring needs might change all the time. Sometimes I don't even know where to start with hiring or how to get through a hiring surge that I might have. What can I do?
It's always helpful if you can predict that a hiring surge is coming. So some companies can do that. Like if they're in manufacturing or something like that, they can predict with the time of year. And so if they can be working ahead of time on realizing what are the certain tasks that might already be slipping off, they're on the back burner, what are some tasks that are overfilled, staff people are not enjoying as much. If you can predict what you're going to need and then start working on job descriptions, if you can be getting those jobs posted, if you don't have the capacity to do that as a startup, getting a third-party agency to help you with that ahead of time is very helpful. If you can plan ahead and start keeping in the back of your mind a list of tasks that you know you're going to need someone soon to be covering and the kind of people, that way you're not in shock when that surge hits and you are overfilled with business and you don't have enough bodies.
An important thing too is understanding there are people out there that can help you with that. At StaffBuffalo, we built out our talent acquisition service where we work with companies who need talent acquisition and recruiting support. Carolyn has mentioned job descriptions a couple times, and we'll help you craft those job descriptions, write the job descriptions, get them posted to job boards. There's a lot of different job boards, and sometimes Indeed's not the only one that's going to work, right? So there's LinkedIn and local job boards, there's industry-specific job boards. So how do we make sure we're getting the job posting in the right spot so that you're getting the best candidates for that specific job? Our talent acquisition specialist like Carolyn will also help post the jobs, vet the resumes, do the phone screens. We can help you get the best people into your organization without straining your internal team and ebb and flow the needs of your business. If you have this hiring surge coming up and you're like, I don't know how we're gonna get through this, we need to hire 15 people in the next 3 months. I don't know if we're gonna always be hiring 15 people, but how do we get through these 3 months? Well, you can hire someone on a fractional capacity to help you through that. And then once the hiring's done, you back off, and then the TA consultant is there when you need them as well, which is super helpful for a lot of companies as they're growing and building their teams.
I've had some companies that when we've had our initial meetings, they'll say, we don't even know technically who we need.
Right.
We don't have a clear idea on where the actual person-shaped hole in our organization even is. We just know that certain random tasks are being done. That's where I come in to actually figure out what actually is the kind of position in your organizational structure that you need. Because some people are so overwhelmed, they need help with that. And then figuring out how are these people going to relate to their coworkers, who's doing what kind of tasks, and building it out that way. Sometimes there comes a point where panic sets in. And sometimes it's helpful to have someone with an outside perspective come in that can kind of view your organization as a whole and help you figure out what you need, and then just do the hands-on work.
Exactly. That's really important. You're so into your business you don't see it from an external view. You don't know what that other job is. Maybe you're just thinking, I need an office manager, but no, maybe I actually need more of an accountant. You just had an office manager before that was doing the billing and invoicing, but it's grown into a much more bigger role where you need, monthly reporting and working with like audits and getting taxes done. And that's not an office manager. That's more of an accountant at this point. So how can you help reshape the organization too as you grow, where you can work with your current team and the skills they have and help them navigate their strengths and put them in the right seats, but then also hire for a new seat too and figure out what that actually looks like. Using the current skills of your team, some transferable skills, put them in the right seat where they want to be, to where they continue to thrive, and then hiring to fill some of those vacancies too, and creating some new positions.
That external view is a lot of what we do as TA, because we aren't just viewing those holes, we're also looking at your social media, your website. Sometimes if you work for an organization for so long, you might say, why are we not getting applicants?
Right.
Why are people not completing the application process? It's just an application process. Why aren't people completing it? And that's why it's helpful to have people from the outside say, oh, okay, we've noticed that your process is 10 pages long and it's hard to find and you can't find it with a Google search.
And my favorite is email your resume too.
That's awful. No, people don't do that.
They don't. People stop in their tracks when they're doing an application. They're like, I'm not going to just email my resume. I want to upload my resume to this website and to this job opening. Move on.
Yes, or it's fill out all of your information separately on an application form and then submit your resume with the exact same information.
So redundant.
And enough companies are moving away from that if you're doing that, you're not being competitive when it comes to the application process. You're losing candidates that just don't want to be bothered. Mm-hmm. A lot of applicants they're jaded at this point. They've been ghosted so many times. Yeah. That's a huge issue. If you are making it difficult to apply to you, they're just going elsewhere.
Exactly. They're moving on. You're losing them before they even get a chance to apply. And you might be missing out on some great candidates for your organization. Finding some of those holes in your process.
The pain points.
The pain points. Yes, perfect, Carolyn. Thank you. Find the pain points in your hiring process, the application process. These candidates are experiencing when they're going through your open positions and application process. That's going to help you identify where you can improve to make sure you are getting the best people for your organization, applying to your jobs and getting through the interview process and ultimately hired to your team and onboarded as well.
Something I wanted to bounce off of you is we're seeing the interview process expanding. It's getting a lot longer in the past few years. How many interviews do you think is kind of the norm now? Because I'm seeing anywhere between 3 to 5. I try to get it shorter than that, but how many do you normally see?
It's sometimes you're seeing 5 as being more the norm. It should be 3. I have clients I work with that just do 1 interview and they want to hire, and I sometimes want to encourage them at least to do 1 or 2 more.
Get to know them a bit better.
Get to know them a bit better. You want them to get to know you too. You want to make sure that they understand your company, the job, and then it's a good fit for them as well. Not just that they're a good fit for you. So you really want to do more than 1 interview. 3 is probably ideal. Mm-hmm. Don't make it too long of a process because then you're going to lose people too.
Absolutely. But this gets back to our earlier points of how are you finding the right people and the right temperament. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it takes at least 2 to 3 to 4 interviews of figuring out in what environments do they actually thrive.
Totally.
Are they going to enjoy having multiple hats? I know when I came here for interview number 2 or 3, it was being shown the place. Yeah. Meeting multiple people, seeing the different temperaments of the people that already work here. Yeah. And saying, oh, can I see myself in them? Do I understand why they are here and why they have stayed? Yeah. That's super helpful that in that interview process, after they've applied, hopefully it's been a short application process, and you've decided that they look good on paper, bringing them in person if you can, and seeing if they have that right temperament. But you don't want to stretch it on too long because you lose them.
Exactly, and you brought up a great point. It's super important to make sure you bring the people, the job applicants, the candidates on site for an interview and give them a tour and meet some other people if possible, because that's, again, where you find if that person's going to fit with you and your organization, and they feel if they're going to fit with you or not as well. So many in this world of virtual, it's great. It can be easy and quick, and it might be good for like the first 1 or 2 interviews, but definitely make sure at least one of the interviews, if you're doing a series of 3, let's say the 3rd interview is come on site, get a tour of the office, the facility, the plant floor, whatever it might be, so you can get a feel for the whole organization and the culture. The culture is so important, and you can really see that when you come into an organization. Is it a casual environment, or is it professional? What does it look like? What do the other team members seem like? Do they seem happy? Are they excited to like meet a potential new employee, potential new team member?
Mm-hmm. And to also just check out the location. We've had some people that just don't want to work in the actual location where the job is once they go and visit, whether it's they're moving to a new city or whether it's literally just driving to that office and realizing, oh, I don't want to have to come here and be in this area every single day. It's good if you can bring them in during the interview just to make sure that they know what they're in for.
Exactly. Good, bad, ugly. Don't scare them away though. You don't want to scare them totally. No, every organization has its strengths and its weaknesses, and it's finding the one that you really thrive with the most from a strength standpoint, right? Yeah. No one's perfect. There's going to be flaws in any organization you go to, no matter how established they are or how new of a startup they are. There's got to be things you got to work through. You got to find what are the weaknesses you can deal with and you can work with, and maybe you can help improve too along the way.
And this is a fairly new trend to have interviews in person and to give a tour, because sometimes when I interview folks who the last time they moved jobs was 10 to 15 years ago, when I hear that their next interview, if they're going forward, is in person and they get to see the place, it's an audible sigh of relief that I get from them, or it's excitement. Oh, I get to see the place. They don't expect it. So I think It's fairly new, but from what we've seen, at least, it's a really good idea.
It's seeming more new because since COVID, there's stuff which doesn't happen as much. It's seeming new again because there's this whole move of getting back to the office too, instead of getting away from just a totally virtual world. I'm finding a lot of job seekers, they might not want fully remote, they might not want fully in office, they want to find flexibility that suits their lifestyles. Maybe it's not a full hybrid schedule where they're in the office 2 days a week, work from home 3 days, or vice versa, but having the flexibility to work from home if and when needed too. It's all part of that too. That's why you're seeing more people come in our office, come see our facility, because they're trying to get their people back to the office too. And
yes,
if it's an organization that does require you to be in the office, they want people to come on site and see it and experience that too.
Yes, and when you've hired a really good team of good personalities, it hopefully doesn't feel like a burden to say, no, you need to actually come in and work with your coworkers.
Yeah.
And a lot of people enjoy that as long as a good team has been crafted.
Exactly. And how do we craft a good team? What goes into it? It's not just necessarily hiring, but it's how do you cultivate that collaboration in the team, and how do you motivate your team? What type of fun things do you do in the office? Are you celebrating employees and celebrating their milestones? Are you investing in their professional development or their networking? What are you doing to craft and build that team? That's going to get your people to stay. We talked about retention a little bit earlier, but doing those things helps with retention, but then also attracting new employees to the organization too, that again are going to be a good fit for the organization. They can do the job. They also are a good culture fit for your organization. And then how do we attract them to our organization?
A lot of that good environment starts with, I know we already talked about it, but onboarding. Are you having their coworkers participate in their onboarding? Are they doing that cross-training, working with people from day one? That really helps form a bond with coworkers, especially if you're bringing on multiple people at the same time, which is fairly common with startups. So you're saying, we've had some good revenue, we need people. Have them train together and then take their feedback of what are the things we want to do together.
Exactly. I think that's going to continue to build happy teams that are, again, helping you thrive and build your business and optimize your business. And that is going to transpire to your clients that you work with too. It all just comes through.
Absolutely.
Well, we've talked through a lot of the pain points around hiring for startups, growing a business, growing a startup, and onboarding. I think you hit that a lot as well. These are all very crucial things to help businesses start their organizations and grow and build a healthy, happy team. That's super important. There's always going to be pain points, but knowing that you have a network around you that you can lean on to help get through some of the business needs as you continue to grow and develop as an organization, and surround yourself with experts. There's going to be people that you can lean on for certain times in your business when you might need it. So whether it's human resources consultants, talent acquisition specialists like we are at StaffBuffalo and StaffBuffalo, payroll team, accounting team, legal team, get those people around you that you can lean on and call when you need that extra help and support, because that's going to help you continue to grow and build your business so that it is successful and that be thriving and be around long past the startup years.
Yes.
If you have any questions or need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're always glad to connect. It has been great chatting today, Carolyn.
Yes, this was great.
Let us know if there's certain pain points you want to talk about in your business or in your industry. We'd love to chat with you. So please reach out and maybe you can be on a guest on our Pain Points podcast. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Pain Points podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to follow us so you never miss out on future episodes.